going live. See, not that I ever complain about Hangouts, but one thing I would change is that going live banner should change color when it's actually live to make it very clear that you're live. Just a feature suggestion, Google. Not trying to paint you with a brush of tar or some such metaphor.
A brush of tar. All right, what band would a brush of tar be their new album?
Brush of Tar.
Iron and Wine, maybe, or like Foxes.
It's got 2 members of Iron and Wine teaming up with a former member of GWAR.
Oh, jeez. A brush of tar.
It's a super group. A brush of GWAR.
A brush of GWAR.
That would actually be a really good branded beverage or barbecue sauce.
Oh, a brush of tar. I don't know. It kind of makes me think cigarettes, though. So maybe you could like Jack Daniel's barbecue sauce. You can do Marlboro barbecue sauce.
Oh, I thought you said a brush of GWAR, like the band.
Oh, yeah, we did say that. You're okay. So you're saying that would make. Gotcha.
Yeah. Like you branded GWAR, like.
Oh, look, Activision revenues are up on Overwatch. Well, that's a surprising, shocking turn of events. Hope everyone is ready for me to rip up the lineup to add that crazy, unexpected earnings thing.
Hey, listen! After everybody was shocked that that Nintendo wasn't making money on Niantic, then maybe people do need to be reminded of who owns what and in what shares.
LinkedIn posted a huge second quarter, which I believe this will be their last. It may be their second to last. I guess I don't know. But their last independent company before they join Microsoft.
Yeah.
Oh no,
Can
this is
you hear
the
me,
last.
Justin?
For sure. Yeah.
I can. Yeah.
You're using the mic on your earbuds or the ones on?
Earbuds. Yeah.
I'm just going to crank you up a little bit because you're a little low compared to Tom.
Okay, yeah, because I'm not going to talk that much louder because I'm in somebody else's place of business and literally sitting at somebody else's desk.
Got it.
Okay.
It's very nice of them. Do we need to thank them?
We do, and we will.
All right, good. The Culture Club, is that what
The Escape Room.
Is that the ones where you go in and you get an hour to figure out how to leave it?
They've got 3 different escape rooms. Apparently the hardest is the KGB interrogation.
Interesting. Sounds like my stint at fast food restaurants. Oh, I got in here. Now I got to get out in an hour.
We were all taking on a bit of a journey with that one. Very evocative.
Like, I gotta get out of here. Why am I here? I got stuck at a McDonald's once in Stockton. And I was like waiting for a lift to take me home because I took the ACT over to the University of Pacific. It's like, why am I stuck here? This whole place is wretched. I'm gonna burn down. So
good God.
All right, you guys ready?
All right, let's go.
Let's do this. Here we go.
Quality content thrives through the support of those who benefit from its creation. If you gain value from the Daily Tech News Show, consider joining others like me who provide support. Learn how to help at dailytechnewsshow.com/support.
This is the Daily Tech News for Thursday, July 4th, 2016. July 4th? How about August 4th? We just wanted to relive Independence Day, I guess. August 4th, 2016. I'm Tom Merritt. Joining me today from GenCon in Indianapolis, the heartland of America. Maybe that's why I'm thinking it's July 4th. Justin Robert Young, how are you?
Can I just say, normally we fill this moment with our witty banter back and forth about what we're doing and maybe giving some sly hints as to the stories that we'll be covering. But can I cede my time and just compliment the voice of the person that did that intro?
Mark J. That was Mark J.
Mark J has an holler at me on Twitter, Mark J, because I like that. That is like one of those like soothing, like the kind of like a Christian radio clip that would be played in like a White Stripes album or something. It was very amazing. I would love to have him do more stuff for
100%
projects that I
agree.
work on.
He was very nice. He's like, if you don't want to use it, it's fine. I'm like, what, are you kidding me? Of course I'm going to use that. So thank you, Mark J. Also, thank you to the folks hosting you there, allowing you to do DTNS today.
Indeed, we are here on the exclusive home as of right now, unless we can figure something else out to do a two-front war. But right now, the only place that you'll be able to get, and you will be able to get it all throughout GenCon, is for the exclusive contender stuff, is the Escape Room in Indianapolis. It is 200 Meridian Avenue, Suite 202, right up upstairs from the Old Spaghetti Factory. Sorry. Not a warehouse. There are spaghetti warehouses.
No,
this
you
is a
make the spaghetti in the factory, and then you store it in the warehouse, but you're at the factory. Got it.
Anyway, you're going right upstairs. We are just across the street from GenCon, and it has been an absolute blast. They're in a first-class organization. They've been so nice to house us here, and even nicer to allow me to abscond into their personal offices so I could do this show for you folks today.
Well, pass along my thanks as well. Apple's Android version of Apple Music is out of beta, folks. There is still no Android tablet version of the app, but you can use it on your Android phones. And here are some more top stories. Digital wallet and password manager Dashlane announced a partnership with Google called Open YOLO. This time YOLO stands for You Only Log In Once. Not YOLIO for login. They're spelling login as one word. You only log in once. Open source API project lets developers access passwords stored in any password manager. Now, the password managers have to get on board and work with this, but OpenYOLO says we're going to target Android apps at first, but eventually we'll have universal implementation across platforms, and leading password managers are involved. They threw out some names to TechCrunch. It's the ones you'd expect: 1Password, LastPass, etc. Documentation and code for this is not yet public, so it's a little weird that they're announcing it when they actually don't have a thing for developers to work on yet. Feels a little vapory to me, but it's got Dashlane and Google behind it, so I would assume that it is in fact going to be a real thing. And Justin, how much better is this to be able to go into an app, say, log me in? It would just go communicate with LastPass, let's say, as long as your LastPass is properly authenticated on your device, get your password, log you in, you don't have to do anything.
This seems to be probably the biggest solvable problem that we have in modern computing, especially on mobile, that we have yet to, I think, get to where we need to be. You have to look no further than the fact that the first day of the Democratic National Convention was dominated by, a hacking scandal that, by the way, will be the new normal. I was not on last week to talk about this kind of stuff, but the idea of big porous operations where passwords are changed all the time and people come and go that are high value being hacked, certainly going to happen. Systems like these, where you can work with more encrypted passwords and hand out company phones that are already authenticated for the things that you need, I think would go a long way. I'm excited to see it, but I agree with you. Until we really see code out there, you have security experts look at, make sure that this is what you would expect. This is, they mentioned that they're talking to the big boys in the industry. Whether or not they will be a part of it going forward remains to be seen. I'm with you, Tom. Aside from busting out a fire pun with Open YOLO, I don't quite know why the announcement now when nothing's totally buttoned up.
Well, yeah, and Dashlane posted before Google had their post up, so there seems to be a little timing issue going on between the two. So yeah, I want to see that. I get how this could work securely. If this were to catch on, though, it would paint an even bigger target on password managers. And as we know, LastPass, 1Password, always under some kind of scrutiny by attackers who want to figure out how to find a vulnerability. And thankfully, they're also under scrutiny from security researchers who find the vulnerabilities and help them get patched. So that is a concern here. I would rather have a just fundamentally more secure system than passwords altogether.
Sure.
But in lieu of that, this is an interesting next step.
I mean, listen, if these folks want to market themselves as Gringotts, then they better have a dragon in the basement. That's all I'm saying.
Absolutely.
Facebook announced over the next few weeks it will implement changes to its newsfeed algorithm in order to reduce clickbait headlines. Facebook found two main categories of headlines its algorithm will identify: curiosity gap headlines, like you won't believe what Facebook did to its newsfeed, and misleading headlines, like Facebook eliminates clickbait. The algorithm will limit the reach of offending headlines, and if a publisher trips the clickbait wire multiple times, the publisher itself will get demoted. I am very curious to see where the evolution of headlines are from here, because
You won't believe what the evolution of headlines will be from here, Justin.
I mean, the most reputable of online news agencies, including ones that have probably outperformed some of their clickbaity, slideshowy past. I am looking at you, BuzzFeed, and Business Insider.
Shoot, even TechCrunch, yeah.
TechCrunch. They still ride that line. There's a reason why clickbait works. It wouldn't be clickbait if it wasn't so juicy. Tom, ultimately, Facebook wants these people on here pushing content, and now they are kind of taking a punitive step to the way that they get the clicks and likes that they do. Are they at cross purposes?
It's an interesting, I mean, we can go all the way down the rabbit hole again of should Facebook be editing the news feed, but the fact of the matter is most people do want them to edit it somewhere as long as it comes out better. And getting links out of there that I click on and then regret is something I'm going to like. And they are taking a midway position here by saying, we're not going to ban the links. We're just going to demote them so they don't show up as often. And that's going to dissuade people from using these kinds of headlines. On the one hand, the misleading headline that says, apples cause cancer, and then it turns out that there is one study one time that showed, one particular breed of cancer apple might have been linked to cancer. Those I want out. Those entirely misleading headlines. The curiosity gap headlines, on the other hand, are a fairly standard way of doing a headline if you deliver on the promise. So yeah, you won't believe what this policeman found under the bed, and it's a cat. Oh, okay, that wasn't that big a deal. I could have totally believed that. But if it's, you won't believe what Steve Ballmer's about to announce, and then you click through and find out, hey, I'm not announcing I'm retiring. That could have been a legitimate headline, and I'm fine with that. So I don't know how I feel about this.
I have a feeling that this might be a dream too far for Facebook, because here's the other thing that I don't quite get. Is this also including ads and boosted posts? Are they going to hammer somebody or make it more punitive for them to buy advertising? Which, to me, the clickiest, McBaitiest of all headlines are all the sponsored ones. They're all the boosted posts, not necessarily the ones that come from the
Justin,
news organization.
I certainly can't imagine that Facebook would only have this apply to non-paid-for links and somehow as a side effect, an unintended side effect, encourage people to have to pay to get their things seen.
I mean, that's where I think this could totally backfire for them.
Yeah.
And I'm curious to see whether or not this is just one of those unenforced laws, or if they really stick to it.
Yeah. On the whole, I like them getting rid of misleading headlines, though. Absolutely.
Yeah.
When Supersite's Richard Hay noticed in a recent install of the Windows Anniversary Update that the option to roll back the update has been reduced from 30 days after you install it to 10 days. So he asked Microsoft about it. Microsoft told Hay that most customers rolled back within a few days. They have data on that. And they're like, people really don't need more than 3 days. So we changed the setting to 10 to free up that storage space that's used by your previous copy, and that frees up 3 to 5 gigabytes of space. So you choose, folks. You want to be mad at Microsoft taking up a bunch of space on your hard drive, or you want to be mad at Microsoft for reducing the amount of time you have to change your mind and roll back from an update?
What would you pick, Tom?
I don't know, man. Give me more control, that's always my mantra, right? So let me customize the amount. Let me choose how many days I want. Aha.
Thomas, always picking this off the board option. You have an A and a B. And to me, the answer is clearly, give me that space. Give me that space.
Honestly, you should always be able to roll back somehow.
Yes.
But give me that space. Yeah.
Yeah. New York Governor Andrew Cuomo signed legislation Wednesday designating designating fantasy sports betting sites like DraftKings and FanDuel as games of skill. That means that the sites are legal in New York, which, if you haven't picked up, they were previously illegal, but fall under the regulation of the New York State Gaming Commission and will pay new fees to the state. Both sites have been banned since March as it constituted illegal online gambling under existing laws. New York State Attorney General Eric Schneiderman said he will continue to pursue false advertising and consumer fraud claims against the site. Schneiderman doing whatever a Schneider can.
Which is apparently continue to sue the two companies that he hates the most, DraftKings and FanDuel. I don't know if he hates them the most, but it is funny where the state of New York is like, so we can make $4 million a year off these sites by calling them games of skill? Sold. Legislation passed. And Schneiderman's like, no, I'm not done suing them. I'm going after them. I'm going to make sure they stop defrauding people. And to be fair, it's if, in fact, they aren't illegal, they should be allowed to operate, but they shouldn't be allowed to falsely advertise or defraud. That's fair.
So let's also, because I know we don't deal with a huge swath of sports fans, the idea with these sites is that you can pick for one day in a slate of baseball games a group of players that will either do well or do poorly. Should you meet or exceed the threshold of what they would ask of you, you win money. If you don't, you lose. So it was certainly marketed as gambling. I don't think that is controversial.
Okay. No, exactly, because the idea was like pick players, win money, right? Win money, and it sounds like pick the winning team, win money, which is definitely gambling.
Yes, and the only reason why this exists is when gambling legislation came in several years ago, there was a carve-out for fantasy sports that you could still go to Yahoo, ESPN, and make a league, and then through them divvy up the money through all the various organizations. You could still do that. This was the way that you could take this to its furthest conclusion of making it as close to gambling as possible. And now New York State, which represents a gigantic slice of that income. New York State is a huge sports betting mecca, which is odd because they don't have legal sports betting. Now declaring it a game of skill, and yet not gambling legal, which would seemingly do more to kind of resolve a lot of these major problems. But who am I, the governor of New York?
No, you're not. Did you speak at the Democratic National Convention? No, you didn't.
I did not. I was in a rickety tent outside, though.
Yeah, but you spoke while at the Democratic National Convention.
I spoke while Andrew Cuomo was speaking.
There you go.
Yeah, yo, dog.
So it is a game of skill because you have to decide which players to combine, and it's not relying totally on the outcome of one particular game.
Sure.
But man, is it a fine line there. And it's basically New York just saying, we would like to make money off this, and we don't see a lot of people objecting to it existing. You don't have the ladies for the prohibition of fantasy sports out,
No.
the streets of Manhattan with their banners. Nobody's really against it. But at the same time, you've got Eric Schneiderman over there saying, yeah, but these guys are sleazy. They're making claims in their advertising that are false and leading people to throw money away, and we need to stop that. So in some ways, maybe this is the best of all possible worlds.
Well, it's the only one that kept the money flowing, which is in general where things go. New York State also has been on a bit of a common sense regulation kick, recently allowing mixed martial arts fighting, which again has a gigantic fan base within New York State, and yet was illegal to do within state borders until just months ago. So I think this makes sense for all parties involved. Although, just in case you're wondering, fantasy sports, daily fantasy sports, a game of skill where you pick a bunch of random number generators and find out whether or not they're going to come in. Parimutuel gambling, picking a bunch of dogs or horses as random number generators to see whether or not they come in a perfecta or something like that. So
can I do fantasy horse racing? Where I'm not picking a horse to win a race. I'm picking several horses and deciding where I think they will finish, and if I get close, then I win money.
Well, I mean, they already have that, but it's called parimutuel gambling.
Right? No, I know. Intel issued a full recall Wednesday for its Basis Peak fitness wearable. 0.2% of users are affected by reports of overheating that caused burns and skin blisters. The overheating seems related to the LED used to do continuous heart rate monitoring, so it didn't shut off. They said they tried to do a software fix that would prevent the burning, but they could not do it. So Intel is recalling all Basis Peak units sold between November 2014 through June 2016. They're not recalling the Basis B1 fitness tracker. They say that older one is not affected by the issue, but they'll still refund your money on all units and authorized accessories, including the older B1s. They're just putting a blanket out there saying, look, you guys, we know you're not going to be able to use this anymore, whether it's burning your skin or not, so we'll give you a refund. And they're shutting down the Basis Peak server on December 31st. So another reason why they're giving the refunds is after the end of this year, you won't even be able to use this.
So now that we've had wearables in our life for a while, and I have now worn my Apple Watch for as long as it has been out, I can certainly say that as I have been more physically active with it, it is the sweatiest piece of technology I have ever used in my life. Like, it is something that is designed and asks you, especially if it's a fitness tracker, it asks you to sweat on it. Like, it is kind of a marvel that these things have, in my mind, not created more of these situations where you have LEDs and electronics burning skin, considering how sensitive some people's skin is.
Yeah, and we've seen lots of irritation claims where people say a band is causing them a rash or something like that. But it was the continuous use of the LED rather than having it come on every so often that built up the heat. And I think one of the most interesting things here is even in those skin irritation claims, a lot of times the companies say, well, it's not we don't really think it's our band. We can't show any evidence, but all right, we'll do something. In this case, Intel's like, no, it can do that. Doesn't do it a lot, but it can, and we can't stop it. So we're shutting down the entire thing, and that is a problem for Intel's wearable strategy because it's going to be the reason that they bought Basis Peak in the first place was to jumpstart them into being able to make wearables.
Yeah, it is interesting, but it's a major problem for them, and also who knows? Wearables was so 2015.
Yeah.
Who knows? Who knows where they'll be?
Implantables, I'm telling you.
According to our mid-year report by Speed Test, the average U.S. broadband speeds surpassed 50 megabits per second for the first time. Huzzah! The new average of 54.97 megabits represent a 42% increase on the year, with upload speeds increasing 51% from 18.88. The data is based on 8 million tests done on Speed Test websites and mobile apps. Comcast Xfinity topped the charts for download with an average of 125 down. Verizon Fios was fastest up with 93.64. Mobile speed saw a smaller increase of 33% on downloads and 28% on uploads to 19.61 megabits a second and 7.94 respectively. Verizon and T-Mobile tied with 21 down, and T-Mobile had the fastest upload with 11.59. T-Mobile has the best LTE performance, while Verizon had the better coverage. So memorize those statistics as you watch strangers recite them to you in various carrier ads for the next year and a half.
Yeah, absolutely. DJ Khaled will be saying this for T-Mobile shortly.
Another one.
I think one of the things that will cause a question here is, hold on a minute, why isn't Google Fiber on here? And Google Fiber is mentioned in the report, but it doesn't have enough rollout to be able to count because they're going by average speeds, they're going by penetration. So Google Fiber obviously is going to have a very good showing on this eventually. You just don't have enough people using it yet. And things like Verizon Fios, which can deliver 500 megabits per second gigabit speeds, only have a download of less than 125 because people aren't paying for those faster packages. Those faster packages are still very expensive. So you're saying this is the average speed that we saw from people who use this, and that's why Comcast is topping the charts, because they're able to sell more of their high-speed packages to people, and they've got a few gigabits out there. I'm sure that juices the number a tiny bit, but for now, that's what this is about. And at the same time, a little bit of competition from places like Google Fiber seems to have pushed the speeds up a little bit this year.
Well, that's really.
Oop, we lost you there for a
Sorry.
second,
Here we
Justin.
go. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's not necessarily that Google is not listed on that top 10 list, right? But certainly their legacy and their impact is what jumps this number as far as it jumps, right? To go from 18 to 54.97 has to, at some level, be because either Google has run out this as big of a rollout as they have, but also the entrenched competitors, including AT&T and Comcast, have had to compete by offering better and competing services in those neighborhoods, as well as, like, for AT&T, when we'll wait. Well, we can all hold our breath while their massive, fiber rollout continues. But they've made designs that they are going to be the first big nationwide high bandwidth carrier.
Can't wait. Can't wait to see.
I mean, Oakland was on that list, so I'm sitting outside of my AT&T store, waiting every day, knocking on the door. Please, sir, can I have some more speed?
Hey, thanks to everybody who submits stories. It helps us put this show together every day. PC Guy 8088 is in there. Motang's in there. Steve Io's in there. Opsy Dow is in there. Love that name. Virgil Kane 6465. Haven't seen you in a while. You're in there too. Archmo's in there. Go submit and vote at dailytechnewsshow.reddit.com. Those are our top stories. But the top story on our subreddit today was this one. The FCC is working on new privacy guidelines. They announced these back on March 31st. I believe we told you about them. They are asking they're asking for feedback on guidelines for privacy for ISPs. They would like ISPs to notify their customers what is being collected about them. Any kind of metadata, any kind of web history, anything like that. Notify and let folks know this is what we're collecting. Let them know what is being sold. If they're selling any of this information to someone, even in aggregate, even anonymized, even selling the use of it. They want customers to know that. And then give customers the ability to opt out of collection. So, in other words, tell the people, like, hey, I don't want you collecting things about me anymore. Make it easy for people to go and say opt out. All right. Now, the reason they're doing this is a consequence of making ISPs classified as common carriers. So, you already see a battle. This is the next line in the sand, right? Which is the ISP saying, great, we couldn't stop you from classifying us as common carriers, but you won't be putting additional regulations on our privacy collection. And Comcast had a meeting, created a filing saying, listen, we're fine with most of these regulations. To be honest, we follow most of them already. But one thing we want to be able to do is give a discount to folks who let us collect privacy information. Just a little bit of web history. We'll follow your rules. We'll tell them everything. We'll say, look, if you want to let us collect this private information, we'll give you a discount, Justin, right?
Well, and that's really
Hold on.
where...
Let me explain it again. What these ISPs want to do, Justin, is say, hey, if you want us not to spy on you, if you want us not to collect your private information, fork it over. There's a fee. In fact, AT&T charges $29 to $60 a month extra for them not to collect your web history and use it to deliver advertising. How about that?
Please allow me to introduce myself. I'm a man of wealth and taste, because I'm going to have some sympathy for the devil on this one.
You're going to have sympathy for Comcast.
Yeah, sure. Tomato, tomato. And I say that because they're both red. Let's take it like this. Now, I think there is an argument to be made that if, as AT&T is doing, making it comically expensive for you to keep yourself out of that data mining, that's something that we can look at. But let's assume we would live in a world where there's not that, where it is X price for what you have, and then they will allow you to discount it if you opt in to this ad management or this information collection so you could be advertised to. We currently, as consumers, accept those kind of deals all the time. We get subsidized phones that or Kindles that pump advertising to our front pages. Why is this, aside from the fact that Comcast is evil and AT&T is very, very hard to like, and that all these ISPs are these big, unlikable, awful structures. Why is this inherently a bad idea if people want to take the deal?
Because we have, as a culture, an allergy to privacy. It's one thing for Google to give us Gmail and just not ever bring up the privacy word. You know who brings up the privacy word in relation to Gmail? Microsoft in their marketing against Google, right? That's a different lay of the land. But in a world where Snowden revelations have come out and ISPs are the least trusted with your private information, to have a price tag put on that is something that raises the hackles. And yes, if I am someone who is advocating for consumer privacy, I'm absolutely going to cast this as they're charging you to not have spying on you. If I'm an ISP, I'm absolutely going to say, no, that's not what we're doing. We're providing a discount. And the fact is, at the end of the day, the question should be, forget the ISPs, forget the lobbyists, say, should there be a price differential? Should they be allowed to give you two different prices that say, hey, if you let us collect your web information and use it to deliver targeted advertising, we'll give you a discount? Should that be allowed?
Well, and here's my free market argument. Should you prohibit a consumer from saving the money from the company to for that privilege? Should you prohibit the consumer from selling their personal information effectively to their ISP? And should that be the FCC's right?
So what I think personally is, I don't think the FCC should make a rule that says you can't give a different price based on the usage of customer info. But I think there need to be, if you're going to allow that, a whole lot of rules about transparency, about what data is allowed to be collected. And in fact, Comcast says it only wants to collect non-sensitive information. In its letter, they said, we don't want to collect financial, health, children's information, social security numbers, precise geolocation. I would go even further on that list, but that's a good start to say, hands off this kind of information. You're never allowed to collect that in some kind of commercial situation. But metadata, web history, okay, if the consumer has a fair idea that this is happening and they're willing to give it to you, you have to also abide by very safe practices with it. You have to make sure that it's secure, that it can't be taken, that it's not sold to third parties, that you are the only one that uses it. And Comcast and AT&T both say that. Where it becomes the worst problem is what you touched on earlier, AT&T's price, which is $531 to $800 a year extra to not get your information collected, and the fact that it's default. When you sign up for AT&T, you essentially sign up to give away your privacy unless you know how to ask them not to, and then they charge you an extra $500 to $800 a year.
But look at what these companies are really becoming. Who just bought Yahoo?
Verizon.
Who has bought DirecTV, NBC
AT&T.
Universal?
Comcast.
Like, these are all companies that are getting more and more into the advertising game. They are becoming web-based advertising companies. The reason why they are pushing, and here, no more sympathy for the devil. I don't trust any of these companies as far as I can throw them in terms of using my data. I don't like the fact that they are going to draw lines in the sand and say, oh no, we definitely won't touch any of this, because you know that they will use it and only pull back on it if they are revealed and proven to have done it. They will take and then ask questions later, because that's just what they have had the history of doing. And I don't believe that they have earned the consumer's trust to believe that they will even hold to the bargain that they make, let alone make a fair or reasonable bargain to say, you know, hey, if you want to take this discount, we will only take the following things. However, I can understand why they're pushing back on this, considering where their business model continues to go. And also, for them, they're saying, hey, listen, if all anybody else wants to do is turn us into dumb pipes, is turn us into just the way that you get your bits so then you can sell information on top of it. And there are, now that these businesses continue to get bigger and bigger, the arguing for the fast lane kind of stuff becomes a trickier proposition as, these media conglomerates that they're negotiating with get larger and larger and can leverage their consumer base against their ISPs. This is how they see, this is the safe path to money for them, using your, like, from the source internet data that will be richer and less cluttered than anything that anybody can ever offer, and being able to go to all the hashtag brands and say, man, do we have a demo for you.
Yeah, no, absolutely right. It's a great point about Verizon. The reason Verizon bought AOL, the reason Verizon bought Yahoo was for that ad tech, and that's what they want to do. It is interesting that Verizon isn't speaking up in here. It's Comcast arguing on behalf of only one ISP that's already done it, AT&T. And AT&T is doing it in the worst way, charging the most and burying the opt-out and making it hard, so that they have some room to negotiate. They have some room to relax and say, okay, fine, we'll stop making it so hard to opt out. Okay, we'll lower the price. We won't make it so gougy to do this. But yeah, you absolutely nailed why they want to do it. And to me, it always comes back down to competition, which is if you have, as you do in Austin, an AT&T that says, we'll sell you the service for $70 a month, but you have to let us use your web history to deliver you ads, and you have Google Fiber that is saying, we'll sell you to it for $70 a month, and that's it. We don't collect anything on the ISP end. Then you have a fair apples-to-apples comparison for customers to make on which one they would like to do, and that's the end of it to me. Most places don't have that, though.
And this goes back to everything that we've said about this FCC and the common carrier stuff, is that ultimately we can push this rock uphill with these companies, and we can try to do our best, but you're right. Nothing solves it like competition. Nothing. I, as an internet professional who relies on his internet connection, and my wife relies on our internet connection to make up the lion's share of our household income, I would love to get into a business relationship with an ISP that I trust, and I can't, because nobody comes close to the speeds that Comcast does, and it is cost prohibitive. And in many ways, this is a collusion that goes far beyond the ISPs. It goes to the local regulations. Like this is a large, very, very hard nut to crack. But until it is cracked, and maybe that's by new technology that doesn't force you to bury stuff, then we're still going to be dealing with this, and they will drag their heels every inch that they can to make sure that when this dust settles, they have the best deal they can get for the next 30 years.
Yeah, W. Scott is one in the chat room says, just use a VPN. Try to foil that deep packet inspection that AT&T is doing, and maybe that's a way to take it into your own hands too. Let's get to our pick of the day from Michael O'Neill. Yesterday we were talking about credential management for enterprise customers, the idea of having like a LastPass or a 1Password at the enterprise level. And of course, earlier in the show today, we talked about this new YOLO, you only log in once platform. And Michael said, I wanted to plug a solution I use at work, which has been great for us, called Secret Server, made by a company called Thycotic. That is Thycotic. He says it's a great piece of software allowing for a locally hosted solution, which I use, and a cloud-hosted one, which he doesn't, I guess. It has the browser plugin like LastPass to plug in passwords on web pages, along with launchers for remote desktop and PuTTY. There's a free version along with paid versions with additional features. We use the professional edition. I've been quite happy with it overall. I use LastPass at home and enjoy it, but for work, we require something we could host in our data center, and LastPass didn't have that, so we used Thycotic's Secret Server. In the enterprise version, it actually has a feature to automatically rotate account passwords if your IT company still requires that. Anyway, he just wanted to give a plug for that. We'll have a link in the show notes.
You know, I'll tell you what, I think that they could probably pick up an account with the Democratic National Committee.
Send your picks to us, folks. Feedback at dailytechnewsshow.com. You can find more picks at dailytechnewsshow.com/picks. Couple messages of the day. Ryan thinks we hit the nail on the head about people wanting to own digital things when we were talking about cartridges. His full-time job is a DJ, and he buys a lot of music digitally. He says, I think about the music I inherited from my grandparents that I still enjoy to this day. My children and grandchildren will not be able to enjoy that with the digital media I purchase. So anything I want to be able to hold on to for a long period of time, I want to be able to pass on, I buy on CD, or even better on vinyl. I don't know how many current video games we'll eventually want to pass down, but the idea of having a cartridge to pass down to his children seems to be appealing to Ryan.
There's maybe it's when you get older and you start thinking more about mortality and your life and the physical biomarkers. But I don't know if I've mentioned it here. I have never looked at myself as like, oh, I want to collect cards or figurines or autographs or any of that kind of stuff. But if there's one thing that if I made a lot more money that I would probably wind up buying, at least it's just something that I can't fully explain, is old tech. Man, I would love to own my old. This is like the thing, and I'll eventually wind up breaking down and buying it. But the old 5 gig Mac only FireWire iPod. For whatever reason, I just have this fetish for it. I want it, which is a complication on top of what he said, which is like, yeah, we want physical media. I long for the day that we just had the simplest version of the digital aggregator for online media. So I very much understand it.
I don't know what you mean, Justin.
Yeah. What is that? Is that a razor?
Original Motorola razor away, and
that's amazing.
We can talk some more about it.
Matthew points out in your discussion on TP-Link being forced to play nicely with open source firmware, it was stated that we might see an uptake in TP-Link sales now. I doubt that this will be the case since TP-Link has done the absolute minimum to block other firmware from being installed in their products. All they did was change the header on the new official firmware. When you went to update the firmware, it would take a look at the new header, and if not, if it didn't find it, it would reject the update. Someone modified this and made a version with the new header that would accept the firmware with either. So instead of once, you updated twice, but it doesn't get much easier. Of course, this is an oversimplification of things, but I'm just a computer network tech and router hacking enthusiast in old Quincy, Illinois.
Ah, Quincy, that's where my grandpa was born. That's nice. Hey, that's a cool tip, actually, for people who have older TP-Links, too. Granted, TP-Link is going to have to make this easier going forward. But yeah, if you've got an old TP-Link that you want to put some open firmware on, you can do it. This little workaround. Thank you for sending that, Matthew. And thank you, Justin Robert Young, for joining us. As always, let folks know, again, what's been going on with you.
So if you are or plan on coming to GenCon, that is the biggest 4 days in gaming, as it colloquially crowns itself. And just in my first half day here, I can absolutely say it is a hullabaloo to beat the band. Come on out. The Escape Room Indianapolis. Go ahead, at Escape Room Indy, INDY, is where you can find it on Twitter. You'll find me and John Teasdale. We are selling not only the Contender, the 500-card base deck, the politically incorrect expansion, 50 filthy cards, a 100-card expansion that only focuses on the 2016 edition, but also the Gen Con exclusive. Might just be a con exclusive, but Gen Con people get a chance to buy us out of stock first. The 10 cards from television and movie famous presidents and one from Dave expansion. So go ahead and check it out. That is at the Escape Room Indianapolis, at Escape Room Indy on Twitter is where you will find us. And otherwise, just follow me on Twitter at Justin R. Young and at Contender Game on Twitter to find out what we're doing because we're just going to be hanging out here at Gen Con. And we're going to be play testing me and John's new game.
I saw that on your Snapchat.
Yeah, we're going to be play testing it. We finally, man, we've been close to it for a really long time. We've just been circling around on stuff, and I think we finally cracked it on the plane, enough that John is currently feverishly on Illustrator trying to mock up some cards that we can print out at Kinko's.
Awesome. Keep an eye on all of that stuff, folks. And thank you for making this show possible. Our patrons are the ones who keep us going, whether it's in one-time donations or recurring donations on PayPal, whether it's the people at patreon.com/DTNS getting the perks and keeping us going on an ongoing basis, or people who just buy mugs and things at dailytechnewsshow.com/support. All of y'all keep us going. If you would like to get just the headlines of the day in less than 10 minutes, check out dailytechheadlines.com, and that is it for us. Our email address is feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com. We're live Monday through Friday, 4:30 p.m. Eastern on diamondclub.tv, and our website is dailytechnewsshow.com. We'll be back tomorrow with Owen J.J. Stone, a.k.a. O'Docta. No Len Peralta, no Darren Kitchen, but we got no doctor. We're not worried. We'll talk to you then.
This show is part of the Frog Pants Network. Get more at frogpants.com.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
Boom.
We do.
What was that?
Huh? What?
What was the we do?
No, we do. We hope you enjoyed this program.
We do. Oh, yeah.
Diamond Club, yeah. We do.
Diamond Club's looking good these days.
I know, right? Looking fine. All right, guys, I'm going to clear out of this
All right,
office
yeah. Thank
before
the
somebody
escape
awkwardly
room people again for us. That was awesome.
Cool. And
Yeah,
then I'll work on that guest for you for those weeks.
When is, I'm sure I have that in my thing. All right. I love you guys.
All right, bye.
Bye.
I'll just CC him. I'll CC him. I need a haircut. My head looks like a grapefruit. All right, let's titles. Perhaps you won't believe what DTNS is doing now. Click
Knew
here to
those were
find out
coming.
more.
Yeah, okay. Right.
Clickbait is gone. You won't believe what happened next. I like that
That
one.
was a little better, yeah. That was a little
How
better.
about that one?
No disrespect, Strike It Rich. Yours was a fine effort, but I like the spin.
Well, you won't believe what Facebook is doing to clickbait.
Yeah, okay.
You won't believe what Facebook did. You choose, you lose. No. Choose your own Microsoft anger adventure. I love that one. Peak didn't start the fire. It was always burning. Yeah, but I'm not a Billy Joel fan, so as funny as it is, no Billy Joel. I do like Clickbait is gone. You won't believe what happened next, though. That's just perfect. I think so far.
All right. If you say so.
Well, I do say so, but I mean, it's also the highest voted one so far. But
Yeah,
it's
the people and Roger Chang agree.
That's what we used to call from Dateline NBC. The answer may surprise you. Is fluoride helping or harming your family? The answer may surprise you.
5 deadly chemicals you might find in your bathroom.
What was the other one? It had to do with checks, like basically a scam where people could take a check that you issue out or write to someone, and they could pull off the ink, so it's back to being a blank check, and they could rewrite on it. But I mean, you had to have a lot of time on your hands to want to do that. I mean, a lot of time on your hands. It's that easy. It's that easy. We won't tell you what kind of pen ink we used. Yeah, you used erasable pen ink. That's the only reason why it was so
I wrote my
easy.
check in pencil. I don't understand.
Someone just erased it. It's great that people don't say film at 11. No, they just say wait or check our website. Follow us on Twitter.
Tune in at 11.
Tune into our Twitter app where we tweet at you all the things that are happening on tonight's news. There's sports news, local news
is the thing that still has not been fixed by the internet because everybody wants scale, right? The big advantage of internet is I got the whole world as an audience. Why would I want to do local news? Most of the world doesn't care about that.
SF Gate's very interesting because that was the online forum of the San Francisco Chronicle, and it covers a lot of local news. What I've noticed is that none of them do any kind of weird comprehensive coverage. Like instead of doing the San Francisco Bay Area, they'll do San Francisco and maybe 1 or 2 stories because they're high profile in the area.
Right.
It would be better if they could at least condense that into. Because you always want to know what's happening. I mean, especially if it's only like
LA Times is the same way, and I think SF Gate still does international coverage too. So they're acting like a newspaper. That's what a newspaper did, and it's interesting. I'm not saying that that's wrong, but I still feel like local coverage is lacking in a way that the internet could make it very. I mean, anybody can publish, right? So theoretically, neighborhood associations should be able to launch their own little newspapers easily online. But instead, you see big things like Nextdoor stop jumping up to do that.
I wonder if there's a way to take street sheets, the homeless newspaper, but actually make them journalists, give them like little cameras and microphones, and since they're already on the beat, so to speak.
Live stream, have
Live stream.
Periscope.
Like, this is happening right now in front of the CVS downtown by the wharf.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, a couple of buskers fighting over,
Well, again, I just think the whole system for funding startups is against local unless you have scale, right? So you see things like Nextdoor launch because they're like, well, we'll bring a bunch of communities together in one massive platform that will get scale. But little local initiatives don't get a lot of interest.
Oh, someone put Striker Rich said, "Is Showbot rigged? Scandal at 11."
Because he had the number 2. Yes. Bum cams. Imagine that strapped to your bum.
Yeah, fanny packs.
Yeah, fanny
Except you can't say that in Britain,
yeah.
suppose, because fanny pack is something completely else, different.
The variability of language.
I know. I was still taken aback when I was in Japan and they referred to thongs as Japs. It's like, what?
In Japan, they do.
No, in Australia, that's what they referred to.
Oh, in Australia, they do.
Like thong, like flip-flops. Or just like jab, what? You can say that?
No.
You can say Oh, my shoulder.
Falling apart, Roger.
I am. It sucks getting older. Hopefully one of these days we'll be able to build to order a new body and just transplant our brain or
it's
spinal
Uber
column.
For body parts.
They drive you around until you find something, or you just...
Whoa, this is a good one. Hacker News. How to listen when you disagree. This is really interesting. It's urbanconfessional.org.
It is very hard to listen when you disagree. Which is why it's so easy to take part in or listen to situations you have no skin in. Because it doesn't affect me.
Hear the biography, not the ideology. When someone has a point of view we find difficult to understand, disagreeable, or offensive, we must look to the set of circumstances that person has experienced that resulted in that point of view.
I think the other thing to understand is just because you don't like a person or don't necessarily agree with their views doesn't mean whatever information they give at that point in time is somehow tainted by that. Like if some guy used to be like a big media mogul and he's used to like screwing over the little guy, as it were, and then he has a great idea for a project or something. It's like, well, no, that sucks. It's just you just want the money. You just want blah blah blah. Might want the money, may not. You never know. Just listen to him.
urbanconfessional.org/blog/how-to-disagree is the link.
I disagree with a barrel of pitch and tar and a bag full of feathers.
And a rail that you're going to ride.
Wait, Roger's going full Carboni. Wait, what's that in reference to? Did Carboni do something about getting a new body or not listening?
Yeah, no, he wants to replace all his body parts. Talks about it on We Have Concerns all the time.
I don't want to replace all my body parts. I just want a new body instead of doing it piecemeal.
Well, I think that's the idea, yeah.
But definitely I want to be taller.
I mean, if you had the choice between replacing some ailing body parts or nothing, you would still choose to replace the body parts, no?
Yes. I would like to upgrade the organ that regulates my aging process and go back when I was actually maybe not high school because I don't want to deal with that.
Is there such an organ?
I don't know, but it is a hormonal thing, isn't it? Like there's a point where
we know for sure. I know we think there's something to do with telomeres because they shorten and all that, but I don't know that we've figured out exactly what does it.
Well, this is all pretend anyway. It's not like I can go out to Toys R Us and get me a body built in.
Yet.
I want a Shogun warrior body with cool missile
I'm a
launchers.
Toys R
for
Us
fingers.
kid. I was created through parts. There's a million parts of me at Toys R Us. That would be
Actually,
weird.
that sounds really creepy, like
If
a
Toys R Us
horror
evolved
movie.
into the body part store.
You know, the one thing I remember about Toys R Us was was it Real People? Like, one of those really, or That's Incredible, about the haunting at the Toys R Us. And they would have a grainy film of, like, it's always grainy,
Of course.
like the toys playing by themselves. It's like, ooh. It's like, wait a minute, isn't that one of those robots you just turn on and they play? Like, they just do this.
No, it's way different than that. That's not it at all, sir.
It's like those ghost hunters when they go into a house and they scream at something. It's like, well, what, you think the dead are suddenly going to come rushing at you because you raised the volume of your voice? Yeah, you have to offer a sacrifice.
I should watch more of those.
Preferably the dumber member of the cast. And then play the music from The Omen.
You have a lovely singing voice.
I know. I was in choir for 2 years. I hated it because I always had to wake up early Sunday and go to Mass.
All right. We have got ourselves a published show, Roger Chang. What do you think of that?
I think it's awesome with a bucket of juice.
Thank you for watching. We'll bring you more juice tomorrow.